So next to me there's Åsa Wikforss, and we're talking about a post-truth area. So I'm just curious, why do people don't believe in truth anymore? Why do we maybe deny facts? What's happening?
Well, I mean, it's not a completely new phenomenon. Probably people have always done this, but it's kind of striking these days. Well, there are certain situations where we don't want to believe the facts. So, for example, you think you're a really great tennis player, but people tell you that maybe your game isn't so sharp and you keep losing your games, and yet you want to hold on to this belief. Or the teachers come and tell you something not so nice about your kid. You think the teacher is a liar. You're not going to want to believe what the teacher says. So in certain situations, we care more about other things than we care about truth. This happens to everyone. But of course, in this day and age, it's happening maybe on a bigger scale than before.
So when we talk about this in terms of getting into groups on social media, being a group of people, belonging to a community, I think it's getting critical, isn't it?
It's getting very critical. So it's been noticed that people also want to hold on to the beliefs that belong to their group. It's called politically motivated thinking. So you hold on to the beliefs that belong to your cultural, political, ideological group. So if your group believes something about the climate or vaccines or immigrants, you will hold on to that belief even though there's lots of evidence against it. Yeah. And this is really critical, because what happens then, if you have a situation which we have now, with increasing polarization, ideological polarizations in society, then different groups on the either side of the spectrum will hold on to different facts. And that's crazy, of course, because how the world is doesn't depend on your ideology, but it's a real phenomenon.
And it's much easier to find someone the same idiotic than me who believes also the earth is flat. You can find those people too, right? There is the flat earth society. Yeah. And of course, there were always people who believed crazy things. That's not a new thing. But what's new now is that they can find each other across the world. It's very easy for them.
It's very easy to find each other, and they can strengthen their crazy beliefs by keep arguing for it together. And that's called, when you put a group of people together who all think the same thing, you get groupthink. And groupthink means you strengthen your belief, no matter how ungrounded it is. So yes, you can even get yourself into a situation where you believe the earth is flat.
So some people call this effect also the filter bubbles. So in the algorithms that you just see what you believe to, but what you believe in, you see only what your groups and the community you belongs to is posting. And one thesis of the journalism was a couple of years ago that they should break into these filter bubbles with their news. Is it easy, or is it even possible to turn these people around to believe in truth again?
Well, first of all, when it comes to filter bubbles, it's not clear that there are completely closed bubbles. People actually look at a range of things, but there is certainly a personalization of news. So you tend to take in the sort of news through Facebook and other media, social media, that fits with what you already believe. And that interacts with a psychological mechanism called confirmation bias, which is the tendency to want to confirm the beliefs you already hold. And confirmation bias interacts with Facebook kind of algorithms and the way the news flow comes there in a very, very bad way. Yes. And when you have that situation, of course, it is very hard to change people's beliefs, because they keep getting confirmation for what they believe, because they get sort of stuff that fits with what they already believe. So that is really, really hard to break through. Yeah.
So do you think social media is an accelerator to this phenomenon?
Yeah, it definitely accelerates it. I mean, confirmation bias is ancient. We had that in the Stone Age times, right? So that's not new. But what's happening now, if you have a situation which you have now, where you have an infinite choice of sources, as it were, it's up to you. There's in Sweden, not long ago, we had 2 TV channels and a couple of newspapers, right? Now it's infinite. Now, when the choice falls increasingly on the individual will increasingly choose on bad grounds, that is on your confirmation bias, on your emotions, on your group belonging, instead of what is a reliable source. So social media and the fractured sort of information society we have now is definitely accelerating this.
So now you did a lot of research on this, but did you also find out how to fix that?
Well, so there's some research on this. And I mean, first of all, if you think you can fix someone's crazy beliefs by telling them how things are, it's not going to work. I mean,
but that's what we all do.
That's what we
today.
do. They say, well, look, this is how it is. Well,
there is climate change.
Yeah, exactly. But they often have that information. So it's not the problem that they don't have the information. The problem is they don't want to believe it. And what you need to do then is accept the fact that these people hold on to this belief for dear life. It's an important belief to their sense of identity, to who they are. They're emotionally attached to it. So what you need to do to reach people is create a situation actually of respect and trust. That's really hard to do because you get angry at people. You want to hit them on the head with the facts, right? It's really hard to do, but you need to try to, if you really want to have a conversation with someone who believes something that is really ungrounded, you need to try to create a situation of trust.
How do I create a situation of trust to people who believe that the Earth is flat?
Well, it's a hard one, but you have to start by finding some common ground, as it were, the Earth. No, but you have to try to start, I don't think you're insane. And people are rarely insane or stupid. They have a wild theory, which has lots of weird conspiracy theories built in, lots of weird stuff in there, right? They're smart. They use their intelligence to think of why, after all, it really is flat, even though everyone says it's round. So you have to respect their intelligence and their beliefs, but you also have to engage and argue and question and ask for evidence and look at it and so on in the nicest possible way.
So what do you think? So what would be the challenge for the media, for newspapers, for news organizations, TV stations, radio stations, the journalists to handle this phenomenon?
Well, it's a super big challenge, and also, of course, because there's a conspiracy theory about media itself. It's a populist conspiracy theory that all established media have this political agenda. Fake media, that's what Trump calls it, right? So there is hatred and distrust to begin with. And it's very important not to go into the trap of getting angry. You can see some news stations in the US now just are super angry at Trump, and that really influences how they do their reporting, and that's no good. You have to try to stay objective. And
even if it's hard.
Even if it's hard, and even if you're angry, you have to stay objective and not get emotional and respect people and try to tell, look, reality is often complex. So immigration is a big thing in Europe, right? There are problems, right? But there are also good things. You have to try to describe the whole complexity that reality is. If you don't do that, you will not be trusted.
Wow. Sounds very complex. So you wrote a book about that?
Yes.
It's Alternative Facts, but in
in Swedish.
In Swedish. So
Alternativa fakta.
So I'm glad you did this.
Okay. It's not so different in German.
Okay, so is there a German translation already?
Not yet, but we're talking about it. We'll see.
Perfect.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I wish you good luck for that. And it's a quite hard topic to discuss. And it sounds really weird and complicated to bring people back to facts and believe in facts.
It's complicated, and what one has to remember is that people are rational animals, as Aristotle said, but we're also emotional. And a lot of this is about emotions and fears and feeling of identity and so on. One has to keep that in mind, that we are complex creatures, and that's why this happens.
So as a conclusion, you would say you can only solve fact resistance with emotions?
Yes, information is important, but it's not sufficient. Emotions play a role, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.